Hey everyone, Sketch Card Hive here. Okay, so I just wanted to do a quick little video on PMGs, right? The kind of, in my opinion, will be the insert that's going to demand the most value of all Marvel cards in the future. I mean, they kind of already do now. I want to talk about them for a couple of reasons. So let's go over what they are, where they came from, just a little bit of a history before we dive in. So for precious metal gems, which stand for PMG, we are looking at the first time they were introduced, right? This is the set, right? Marvel Fleer Retro 2013. This is the time where Upper Deck said, okay, we're going to make a product and we're going to emulate and copy and parallel all the big sports inserts that exist currently coming out in the 90s, right? So we're looking at precious metal gems. We're looking at jambalayas. We're looking at the TI-22s. We're looking at, oh gosh, what else? We got printing plates in there, which had existed before, but those are in there. Quick Strike, which is another one. The Intimidation Motions, those are in there as well. The jambalayas, which I mentioned before. You have sketch cards, and you have autograph parallels and so forth. So this is pretty much a big set. And when you're talking about precious metal gems, especially for 2013 Fleer Retro Marvel, you're looking at three colors. You have red, blue, and green. Red is numbered out of 100, blue is numbered out of 50, green is numbered out of 10. Now, for many of you major Marvel card collectors who are pretty much who I'm talking to, hopefully the old school crew, people who have been around for a while, I know what you're thinking. How does an insert out of 50 or 10 demand prices of upwards of $500 or $1,000 or $2,000 depending on character? What you don't understand is the sports world. When it comes to sports cards and PMGs, the prices for Marvel cards are kiddie table stuff. Like, we're sitting at a smaller table while the big boys at the bigger table and ladies are dealing with massive numbers for some PMGs, okay? Marvel is very much fresh, new territory. Now, PMGs have always been expensive. This is true, just like with the Marvel Masterpieces 1996 set, right? Always been expensive. But with precious metal gems, because they cross both sports and Marvel, collectors, card collectors specifically, the price point has always been higher because there's always been more of a demand for them. There's more collectors looking for them, limited supply. And remember, these cards are hard numbered, right? Anything hard numbered is always going to demand a premium. Most of the arguments I hear, sometimes people are like, well, what about Marvel Masterpieces 2016, right? What about the one-of-one red spectrums, right? Why aren't those sought after? Why aren't those beyond expensive like PMGs are? Aren't those one-of-ones and more rare? This is true, but the person who holds the one-of-one of a card, that's it. You own that card, right? You are the audience. You set the price, right? When you have 10 of something, you have multiple owners. Multiple people can decide on price. Multiple people can decide to sell, keep, people can hoard, people can corner the market. When you have one of one, it gets a little different territory. High-end specialty items will always have a different territory on market, opposed to cards that are a little bit more obtainable but just as rare. So precious metal gems, you fall right into that camp. So for Marvel card collectors, this is kind of a big thing, because these are really the inserts where we can start looking at sports prices and start getting a little bit more similar prices in our hobby in terms of for cards. Now again, this is not all for profit. I am talking to a very specific group of people who are interested in buying, selling, and collecting these cards for investment or just to keep, or like knowing what they have is rare and costs money. That's who I'm talking to. Again, this is a hobby. This is all for fun. There's no need to listen to me. If you don't believe me what I'm saying, don't listen. It's totally fine, obviously. Don't subscribe, don't like. I don't need any of that stuff. This is just simply capturing a time where Marvel cards are starting to have more of an identity in the non-sport world and in the sport world as well. Funny enough, when Pokemon was first coming out for sports collectors, many sports collectors, as all of you know, looked at those cards and thought, this is stupid. Who will ever pay this amount of money for Charizards or a Pikachu? Now we're looking at like $500,000 for a Charizard First Edition Shadowless PSA Gem and 10. And that's not going to go away, right? That IP is sacred. Nintendo knows what they're doing. People will always love Pokemon. That's going to be around. And yes, that's the gamble. I don't know that for sure. I mean, again, what do I know? But Marvel, being owned by Disney, just like Star Wars, those characters are protected, right? They're going to make sure that none of those characters, their IPs, are ever damaged or ever not have mass appeal. And when you collect anything, one of the most important things to collect, you don't have to again, is that a lot of people like collecting things that have mass appeal, especially when it comes to reselling or eventually offloading, right? A lot of us are very realistic in terms of being more experienced collectors that eventually will want to offload, or eventually will want something else that will cost money and we'll have to flip or sell something to recuperate our losses on a collectible, right? I don't have tons of money, so I have to sell things and move things just to be able to obtain things that are rare and more unique to my collection. Back to retro really quickly. So that's pretty much PMGs. Now you have a little bit of backstory, why they're valuable, why we're interested, why we're looking at them. These are mine right here. This is the red Silver Surfer that I have. Not in the best condition, probably a 5, maybe. Not a 5, that's maybe way too low. Like a 7 or 8. 7 or 8 PSA. And that's not me speculating, that's pretty much what I think it would get. And being harsh, very harsh. My blue is currently a PSA, but I did spend money on getting the green. Now I did want to talk about this experience a little bit so you understand what I had to go through. So I searched for the green PMG, which is out of 10, and that's this one right here. That's the Silver Surfer. And this is number 7 out of 10. Okay, so a little backstory on this so you can get an idea of how rare the greens really, really are. And any of the blues and 10s, and any of the blues and reds that are reaching like PSA grade 10 or 9 or BGS 9.5 or 9s. It took about 5 years for me to find this card, just to find it. No, it took 3 years to find it. I found only 3 that I know of, possibly 4, and I know where they're sitting, and they are not for sale, no matter what number I was throwing at them. And I threw pretty crazy numbers I didn't think I would throw, considering I'm not flush with cash. And so I spent 5 years searching for these, never found anything. People telling me it's not ever going to happen, they're locked away, they're gone. This is probably one of the most difficult inserts to find, and it is the last card I needed for my Silver Surfer collection. So it was the last one I needed before like the MM16 Marvel Masterpieces 2016, like Red Spectrum or a Silver Spectrum Auto by Jusco, which those two have kind of sat on the back burner for me, which brings me to my next really crazy thing. I opted in getting the green PMG Surfer over the Marvel Masterpieces 2016 cards, like the Red Spectrum and the Silver Spectrum Auto. And this is why I'm making this video, to kind of illustrate why I did that. So it was 5 years, finally piped on eBay. The guy was super nice. There were multiple buyers, people who were so kind that I knew, hit me up, told me what they were going to put as an offer, and wanted to let me know because they know I've been searching for a long time and wanted to give me, some clarity on the price that I need to be paying in order to obtain this card. I won't disclose that. You can go on eBay, you can find it on 130 point if you want to, but I'm just going to not disclose that. That's disclosed on there. But I paid it, and I did it, and I own it, and to be honest, with as many people that hit me up, and this is the interesting part, people wanted to buy this card for the price I paid for it. And that to me as a collector is important. When I know I have people who are willing to buy it for the price I spend on it, then I know I should be buying that card for my collection. Now, is it for sale? No, of course not. It's not. Will it be sold for the price that I bought it for? No, of course not. That price is gone, right? But this is kind of my logic behind this. Let's move on to the looking to buy PMGs now. All right, so let's go to eBay and look at the sale prices for this and just check this out a little bit more. So we're going to go here. I'm going to go ahead and type in gems to get a little more specific. We're going to go down here to the sold. Okay, and this is what you need to be doing to figure out the real prices here. Ended recently. So we have a TI 22 that's a 9.5 BGS, that the beautiful card for $236. This was a steal in my opinion. We have the Captain America Red for $15, the Punisher Blue, which is $107.5. Again, that's a steal. They're probably looking at the condition as well. So if you look at this card here and you're like, oh, it's $107, how's that an expensive insert? Let me show you something. This little corner right here, this guy right here, that corner, that's the guy right there. Because of that corner, that marks it down way below a 5 PSA. So someone bought this just to lock it down because they're a character collector, or they want to just take this off the market. And these are busted corners, so this card was not kept well. By the way, that's the other thing to think about with Marvel cards, right? There is an idea here that, yes, there's 10 green, but out of those 10, how many are still around and in gem mint condition or even a PSA 9 condition, right? They just don't exist. Maybe 2 or 3, if that. It just depends, right? A lot of those 10s have not been discovered, were discovered, gotten rid of, whatever the case may be. You have to be careful when you're thinking about what these numbers actually mean when they say they're out of so many. So going down this list again, we're seeing Hulk for $315. That looks good. Again, all of these are probably because condition-wise, these are not great cards. They're beautiful cards, great cards to own, and yeah, I think that's the way to do it. This sold for $800. It's an Iron Man red. That's a great looking Iron Man. The color matches. He's a top tier character. And the condition here is not terrible at all. This is probably going to be an 8 or a 9. Corners have a little bit of a whitening to them, but nothing really, a little bit of a chip there. This edging here is somewhat normal, but you're looking at 8 or a 7, maybe a 9 if you're lucky. Again, that comes with practice and looking at these things. So the next thing you're saying here, just to make this video a little quicker, and looking at these cards and seeing these prices, what's the potential future? There's the green that I got. I did not pay that price. I got a best offer. But when you're looking at these pieces here, the next question you should be asking yourself is this. What's the PSA pop count? So let's go ahead and check that out. All right, we're going to go to PSA card, right? And this is a great way for some Marvel card collectors to understand how this system works. All right, so PSAcard.com, you're going to something called Pop Report at the top. You might not know what this is, you might do. Sorry if I'm talking to you and you already know. You go to Pop Report, you go here, you search. It's a little more difficult on, what site is it? The BGS site, which is, you know, not my favorite thing to look at because of the difficulty of looking at that. But it's very nice. BGS is great, obviously. But here we go. 2013 Fluor Retro Precious Metal Gems. We click clear. This is going to open up. So right here, just a couple things we have to look at. We have 92 cards graded here. Only 92, right? The reds are out of 100. So there's quite a bit of cards out there not graded right off the bat. Not every color for every character has grades out there. So if you look at Invisible Woman Blue, there's an 8 and a 9 no 10s. So let's quickly look at this total population. Out of the 92 cards graded, only 7 are Gem in 10. Hence the value, hence the high price mark for these metal gems. Because they're also, which I neglected to say, are some of the hardest cards to grade. There's flaking, there's natural things that happen in the pack, they're easily scratched. These are highly sought after not only because they're beautiful cards, but because they're extremely difficult to grade and they're numbered and they're considered a premium insert. So tick, 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 tick. You have 7 population reports, so only 7 10s. Not every color is on here too, right? Thing only has a blue and a red, so there are no green things out there. Spider-Man is going to have blue, red, and green because Spider-Man's Spidey-Man, you know what I mean? And then you have Thor, who doesn't have a green either, Hulk, who doesn't have a red graded. So there's quite a bit of characters that are spaced out here at different grades. There's a Loki 10. You got 2 Emma Frost 9 greens, which I think one of them's on eBay. Venom reds, there are actually no Venom 9s or 8s or 10s, only a 7. So that's a special one. That's an easy one to find. So if you find a Venom red at a really good quality, and you can get an 8 or a 9, you're sitting very pretty at the table, and you can ask for a very high premium off the card too. Plus they look great slabbed. I think they really look good slabbed. That and holograms, of course. But if you're a kid of the 90s, you love holograms. Apocalypse is a big one. There's an Apocalypse green gem mint 10, and that's a pretty freaking awesome grade on a great character. So the characters that have 10s are Apocalypse, Magneto. I know the guy who has Magneto. Beautiful card. Punisher. And Spider-Man green. We know that that's going to be at auction, so be sure to check that out. There's 2 Thing reds, but now we're looking at greens, and I think that's it. So again, that's how you look up the pop report. That's how you look at eBay sold listings. This is why I believe PMGs are kind of like the main inserts to be looking for in terms of value, right? They probably, in my opinion, will be the insert for marble cards that will always demand the most value. Maybe even more than Silver Spectrum autos from MM16. Just because that audience is way smaller than it is for PMGs. Plus, Juiceco signed a fair bit of cards out there, from Dynamic Forces to buybacks for the set and so forth. So there's a few cards signed with Juiceco's name on it. Beautiful cards, great cards. You should definitely pick them up if you find them. They're extremely scarce and rare and expensive. But in my opinion, the most valuable and the most value in terms of monetary value that will build in the future will be for PMGs. But hopefully you enjoyed this conversation. If you want to like, comment, and subscribe, please do. Please let me know in the comments if your opinion differs, or if you have similar opinions, or just want to talk about Fleer Ultra Retro. Right? Tell me the cards you have. Tell me things you have in your collection. I love to get together a bunch of people who have these cards and kind of create a little bit of a network. So please let me know. Hope you enjoyed the show. And farewell, everybody.